We begin the chapter in bed as Richard wonders why can't this night go on forever as Chase's wife wakes him up to participate in the most important meal of the day, bursting with her homemade love. When Kaylin joins them for breakfast, Richard's inner monologue says, "Good morning, girl," when he notices she is just attractive in her new outfit as she was in her white dress. While everyone else is eating breakfast, Chase is outside preparing everything they need for their epic journey. Kaylin enjoys a conversation with Emma about the mother-father dynamic with their children, and Zed embraces his breakfast with open arms, complimenting it repeatedly. While everyone else is enjoying breakfast, Richard realizes the party's over, people, and only solutions to the problems ahead will serve them faithfully. Chase really knows how to make an entrance and gives Kaylin a startle, but the girl can't help it, and in her defense, the amount of weapons Chase is carrying looks like it's all too much. If he wasn't so frightening and majestic and projecting exactly how experienced he was with each of these weapons, after all these years of practice, it would be enough to make a man look silly. Richard, having known Chase as well as he does after all these years, knows him to be a man of two basic expressions, feigned ignorance and a commitment to bloodshed. While they're leaving, Emma gives Zed a bag of fried chicken for the journey, so fresh and crispy it would put the Colonel's secret blend of 11 herbs and spices, which work better together than any other combination of herbs and spices on Earth, to shame. Kaylin isn't some backwater cookie duster. She is the mother confessor, and she looks into the eyes of a woman she has known less than 12 hours and promises someday soon this kindness will not go unrewarded. Before the four of them mosey off into the sunrise down that dusty old Dixie highway to face almost certain destruction, Emma gives them all a bit of positive touch. Zed kisses Chase's wife. Kaylin presses her body against Chase's wife with her arms around her and repeats her lies about returning the clothing in just the same way she did it before. Richard presses her body against Chase's wife with his arms around her, and Chase doesn't try any of that Han Solo knowing that you love me crap on her. Instead he says, "Baby, I am leaving you." So Emma gives him a kiss on the cheek, which he graciously accepts because when you love a woman, everybody got some loving, touching, squeezing from Emma, and everybody leaves happy. Chase gives Kaylin a knife since she doesn't have one. Like a hustler, Richard asks Chase to borrow a knife from Chase since he left his at home, which Chase agrees to. And in that moment, it is already too late. Chase never sees that knife ever again. Immediately after seeing Chase give up two of his weapons to people who needed them, Kaylin asks Chase if he really needs all the weapons he brought. Chase metaphorically says, "I can see it in your eyes that you're worried, but I would certainly need them if I didn't bring them." Richard sees a hawk flying overhead as they depart. The group travels into the Heartland Woods at a medium pace, passing through the Heartland Valley onto Hawker's Trail near Trunt Lake. Richard notices that the snake-like cloud is slowly following them, and he is happy to be leading that cloud away from Chase's home. Richard travels often, but knows this trip is different because he's going further than he ever has gone before. Dangerous places so dangerous, Chase warns him he needs to be very careful. Richard also says he is worried because he sees Chase is worried. As Richard observes Kaylin, Chase, and Zed ride down the trail, he gives each of them a mental once-over, doing what he always does, taking an inventory of the tools and skills at his disposal. Kaylin, the symbol for justice, master of an awesome but unknown power. Zed, the symbol for pride, powerful and dangerous, but content to live a simple and unassuming life and eat fried chicken. And Chase, the symbol of independence, armed to the teeth and feared by the people he protects, as well as the people he hunts. Only the young seem to be comfortable around Chase. While they're walking away where the snake cloud was just near, Zed leaves a literal trail of chicken bones from where they started to where they end up nearly half a day later. Next, we're introduced to one of the most delusional conclusions a character has likely ever come up with in the history of recent fiction, when Richard says Kaylin looked over at him after she took off a layer of clothing in a cinematically placed sunbeam and gives him the special smile she never gives anyone else. Richard asks his wizard friend if there's anything a wizard friend would be able to do about the evil magic cloud following them. And Zed, in a serious way, says he's been thinking about the wheel in the sky he could turn, but first he wants to get further away from Chase's house because he doesn't want to leave a search directly to their home. He says this immediately after he just finished leaving a chicken bone trail for the last 30 miles, starting at the point where the people following them are most likely to start looking, which leads directly to Emma and Chase's house. Still they ride and continue out into the open, with repeated mentions of farm owners making themselves scarce when they see and recognize Chase, continuing the trail of breadcrumbs leading back to those old people, leading back to the chicken bones, ending at Emma and Chase's house. Richard thinks about this and says this is further than he usually travels, and it is much closer to the boundary than he's used to going. Close enough that he is next to some dead trees that have been killed by the snake vine. Chase is on high alert being so close to the boundary, examining everything, using 100% of his massive arsenal of talents to make his mission a success no matter what. Chase tells them he's going to scout ahead, and when he comes back, he tells them to keep going and stick to the path and not deviate from his plan so he can protect them, saying, "I'm going to leave you, but I'll be all right without you." Richard agrees, so Chase and the group go their separate ways so he can stop harm from reaching them. As the group continues without Chase, Richard describes the ominous and oppressive nature of the path they are on. The trees press in so tightly from all sides that they block out the sun, and they have to continue on in the shade. As Zed, Kaylin, and Richard travel, they hear terrifying screams, growls, and howls, all described as desperate and urgent to kill, which create a chain reaction causing everyone, including the horses, to feel like running faster. After about an hour of listening to the terrible sounds coming from the beasts of the boundary, Richard has had all he can stand and he can't stand it no more. He stops the horses and tells everyone they need to help Chase, saying he might be in trouble and he can't let him do the thing he asked them to let him do alone. Zed tells Richard Chase is doing his job, and his job is to listen to what he told him to do. Zed tells him Chase has sworn to protect him, and his main goal is to get them all to the pass. He reminds Richard that what they are doing is more important than one man's life, and whether he is dead or alive when it happens, Chase's main objective is to get them safely to the pass through the boundary. If he should break your heart in the process by dying, then you can't let his death be for nothing. Richard responds to Zed's counter-argument equally and oppositely when he says, he may be in trouble, we can't let him do this alone, which causes Zed to get caught in the cycle as well. Challenged by Richard, Zed responds with, well, la-di-doo-da-di-doo-da. Do you recall what Chase said not 1 hour ago? It is his job, let him do it. While this argument continues, the narration notes that the sounds of the howls are getting closer. Kaylin becomes involved and adds the force of her cognitive violence behind Zed's when she also uses facts and reason to force Richard to see logic without asking for his consent regarding anything she has said. Richard, being pressed by logic, attempts to appeal to her emotions, invoking the old correlation without causation defense, challenging that she would feel differently about this if she were in his position and he needed to rescue her instead. Kaylin stands firm and rejects his position by telling him he is wrong, and she would have him go on. For the second time, we're told that the shrieks are getting closer, with no end to their conflict in sight. Zed lies to Richard's face when he implies knowing that everything will be all right because Chase does this all the time. Logically, it's as useful as when someone decides to play some music to cover up the smell of a particularly robust flatulence. Next, he invents a story about how Chase is feeling at the moment and says he's likely having a good time. He quickly follows that lie up with a piece of information Richard knows to be true about Chase, creating a false correlation without causation in Richard, leading him to believe that because Chase likes to embellish his stories, he must be having a good time, and therefore isn't going to be killed by the beast he is keeping from them. While he's not happy about it, he does continue, and going over the thoughts in his head while he does so. Once this decision is made, the howls and cries fall further and further behind. As they ride further from the howls and screams, Richard reflects on his own actions and feels silly for acting the way he did. He admits it was his own fear which led him to make that choice. Richard repeats the reassuring lies Zed told him about Chase being in control of the situation. But even then, his rational mind recognizes the lie and he admits, while he knows Chase to be capable of much, he might die. And Richard wonders what he would tell Emma if Chase got shipped off to the City of Angels in a pine box. Richard feels better. His anger fades away. Kaylin smiles. Richard's mind turns back on. While he rides, Richard tries to daydream what the dead forest looked like before all the trees died. He puts his faith in the Heartland Woods as he imagines how it used to be a beautiful place, green, safe, and full of life, like the other places he's familiar with. While they travel, Richard realizes once again, once he makes it to the Midlands, he has no idea where to start looking. As the sunset and the evening creeps in, Kaylin, Zed, and Richard come to a river with a wooden bridge across it. Richard doesn't trust the bridge and finds out it has been tampered with. Zed doesn't want to get wet because the bridge won't hold their weight. Richard says it's just the rain flowing past them, and too bad unless he has something better he can do about it. Zed says it's never too late until you give up. Hold my beer. And he unleashes a semi-phenomenal, fairly impressive power to keep the boards and branches from getting wet while his friends walk their horses over them. After the bridge, all of them continue on the trail under cover of darkness. It is impossible to see the sky through the thick canopy of trees, and while they're safe on the path, they're surrounded on all sides by darkness and noises which conjure the promise of angry and dangerous creatures. Richard hears noises from the woods on his left, cracking and breaking branches, getting closer and closer by the minute. He tells himself it might be Chase, but he can't be sure if he's being chased by Chase or chased by something more sinister. Realizing he won't be able to get out ahead of it, Richard realizes he's going to have to do something. He pulls the sword of truth free and runs his horse to meet the challenge head on. Once committed, Richard gives himself over to the choice, because he knows no amount of wishing will banish what he knows to be coming for them. Richard sees a black form moving into the trees onto the path in front of him. He raises the sword of truth, ready to swing the edge of the blade in self-defense to cut through the threat. He doesn't notice until it's almost too late that the black form which has been chasing them was Chase all along. Chase tells Richard to keep his sword out and guides them the rest of the way to follow him. After choosing a fork in the woods, Chase leads everyone out of the thick, dark trees into the starlights of the open country air. Richard, having just been scared on a horse for the last 3 to 4 hours, says, "Boy, Chase, what's all this then?" Chase tells him they were things from the bounty trying to get them, which is why he didn't want them to go too fast. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to protect them and keep up at the same time. Chase says as much when he tells Richard to cut the back talk and listen to him. And his friends, the next time Chase tells him what the right thing to do is, when one is near the boundary. There are very specific cause and effect relationships here, and imagining that it works any way you want it is a recipe for disaster. It could have been you who needed rescuing when the start of the whole situation could have been avoided if you had just listened from the start. Once they reach the top of a hill, the party makes camp, preparing to spend the evening there. While Chase and Zed are handling the horses, Richard and Kaylin have a bit of alone time while they make a fire. With a tear in his heart and the gallantry on his sleeve, Richard tells Kaylin that if it had been her, he would have come after her. The author also adds that he means more than the words he had just spoken. Kaylin says, "Don't be down on me, baby," but you shouldn't say that. And she walks away. But all Richard can think is, while her words say, "Stop being stupid," her lips are telling him not to be stupid, are really saying, "Kiss me softly." There's unrequited romance in the air, and Richard struggles with this as his feelings are being allowed to influence his decision-making process without his thinking. Once Richard has a moment to observe his surroundings, he notices Chase has been through a harsh battle. He has blood all over him. Some of his weapons are broken, and there are broken teeth and claw marks all over his armor. Richard says, "What sort of creatures caused all this then?" And Chase tells him they were hearthounds. Big canine creatures, twice the size of a wolf, lots of teeth. Which have the ability to hear the person's beating heart from inside their chest. Others say the name comes from a tendency to hunt in packs and kill by ripping out the heart, fighting over it amongst themselves. Richard asks if they can go in and out of the boundary without being claimed by it and why that is. Chase tells him it's because that's how the magic works. They can go in and out of it, but they can't go very far from it. Chase says the hounds are straying further and further from the boundary, and this makes the trail they are on dangerous. But since the other route would add an entire week to a journey where time is short, Kaylin tells everyone hardhounds are tan-like. They're like deer, and they're running loose in the Midlands because the boundary has failed between the Midlands and Dahara. Even during the daytime they're found, which was previously unheard of. Richard isn't happy about this and asks what other terrible things are in the Midlands, which are even worse than what he already knows about. While he doesn't mean this as a question, Kaylin takes a moment of silence for an up-close, medium-angle, fireside, cinematic camera shot before she answers quietly, "Dark and raw."